the players didn't appreciate that so much, and now I know why. Now I know about the differences between those multi-purpose stadiums and why, everybody wants their own facilities. And it appears that, there's a lot of talk about the Raiders. I was going to talk about L.A. and them wanting to get something there, about perhaps the Raiders ending up there. But then I saw the NFL was pitching the splitting San Francisco idea, kind of like the Jets and the Giants did before. And talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, how long do you think it is before somebody ends up in Los Angeles?
Well, it like I said, it's been 20 years, and we all assume, I've said I think it's going to be within the next 5 years. The big issue has been and is the stadium situation, and that the league feels, the Coliseum and the Rose Bowl are not sufficient for an NFL team at this stage. And it's more than the actual team, because the Super Bowl itself, I think, hasn't been in Los Angeles. I'm going on memory here, but I think 93. So we're talking 21 years or about. And if you think about, the Super Bowl, they want Los Angeles in a regular rotation because obviously of the size of the market, the availability of the media, the fact that the NFL Network is there now, and the fact, the weather is so good. It should be a regular rotation in the Super Bowl pantheon, but it hasn't been because of the fact that there's no team there and they're not comfortable with the stadium situation. So I think once the stadium is built, and once they get that done, it's going to happen very, very quickly, because it's too large a market. It's just, the NFL doesn't need it. That's been proven. As we said, they haven't been there in 20 years. It hasn't affected the popularity of the league. But I do think, as evidenced by, Roger Goodell confirmed that the draft will be moving out of New York, in the two cities that, are in the finalists are Los Angeles and Chicago, and Los Angeles doesn't even have a football team. So it's evident how badly, I think he looks at it as a black eye a little bit because the market is so big and they've gone without football for so long. I just think it's a bragging rights kind of thing, and I think he wants to get it done.
And you know what? It sets right up the other thing I wanted to talk about. You talk about a major city and London. It came up, and when I was reading into this over the weekend, and I said, man, I can't wait. I want to talk to Joe. Was speculating with their insistence, and we've seen it started way back with the first exhibition games that they started having over there, and the World League flirtation, and the growth of the American football overseas there, and then how they had to progress to eventually having regular season games there because, like Roger Goodell said, they didn't like to see friendlies. They don't like to see the exhibition games anymore. So the next logical progression, we know how badly the NFL would love to get a franchise over there. And I've heard some cool ideas. Like, really, most of the ideas that sound like logistically they could work would require more than one team being over there, and a lot of finagling when it comes to trips and schedules and how things work out. But man, just play with that a little bit. How logistically do you pull off having a team on the other side of the pond like that?
Well, I think it's difficult, and I think that's why I'm so surprised the league is pushing for it so much, because it is. If you think about the teams that go over there now, generally, they have their bye week the next week, and you have time to kind of recover. But the actual travel would be a nightmare if it had to be, on a week-to-week basis. If you played 8 home games in London and 8 in the States, I mean, that's going to kill a team. That's going to be a very difficult, in both ways. For the visitors, obviously, it's going to be an extremely difficult week. And obviously, if you're playing those 16 games, you can't set it up to where they have their bye week all the time. So, to me, it's incredibly difficult, and I'm surprised the NFL is pushing for it. But then you look at the other, and I think it's all based on, growing the market and the fact that we always talk about how big the NFL is, and it's a $9 billion a year industry. But there's some thought that maybe they've, they United States that things are so saturated here. They're always looking for new revenue streams, and we just talked about the draft. By moving the draft around from city to city, you can kind of open up that mini Super Bowl bid for cities for that event. So they're always looking for new revenue streams, and I think that's why they're so engrossed in trying to get the product in London. A major market, by and large, is untapped. Everything at the end of the day is about money, and I think Roger Goodell.
And absolutely. Like you brought up, all the reasons that you can't, because, the minute people say, well, that doesn't work, that's where the, ideas like the World League came from. It will work. It would be financially successful if it's the legit deal. They don't want an exhibition league or a separate league or a European league. That will not financially float. They want an authentic NFL franchise, which is the only way you can make it work. But yeah, I'm with you. I've played with so many of the different ideas, like, man, how do you make this work? And then how do you make it, fair as well? Because as you said, all the teams it's not going to be a balanced schedule. Every team that team can only play 16 games. So every team's not going to have to make that long trip over there, or vice versa, however it works out. So many things to work out, but you can also see kind of the pie in the sky, the thing that they're aiming for, why it's worth shooting it around. But you can see, man, like you said, the NFL's not just kicking it around. I mean, Roger Goodell came out and pretty much said he expects a franchise there sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and that's one of those where I've always thought, and I think behind the scenes, I think Los Angeles is going to come first. I've always said that, just for the logistical reasons. And if you think about it, and I use the NBA as an example again, because basketball is really a worldwide sport, and the NBA hasn't had a desire to do it to this point. And that the lone reason is logistics. Now it's much more difficult in a sport like that when you play 82 games. Then you have extraordinarily, you think about the travel that would require. But as far as the popularity of the two sports, while obviously football is far more popular here, basketball is probably more popular there, and then the world as a whole, and even leagues like that haven't really, scratched the surface about doing it, and it's for one simple reason, and it's logistics.
It'll be very interesting to see when the NFL finally does craft a battle plan here, how they go about it. But yeah, it's coming. I mean, you may put it off for a little bit of time, but it's definitely coming. John, it's not coming. It's here, my man. We have hit it. D-Day is upon us. The countdown to the Hall of Fame game. Teams are already in camp. By the end of this week, everybody will be in camp, man. It's an exciting time. Time for some football to start. Was I right? 53 days until the opening kickoff? Am I right about that?
Yeah, it's finally here, really.
Yeah.
And the Hall of Fame game I'll be out there in Canton for that. So it's creeping up on us, and it's fun. We talked about it last week. It's fun to get away from some of the off the field stuff and finally start talking about football.
Right, absolutely. And Browns fans, I'm sure, will be glad too. By the time you and I talk, we will definitely know the fate of Josh Gordon. At least I would assume it'll be by the end. Wouldn't you think it'd be by the end of this week that thing will be wrapped up and they'll have an announcement?
Yeah, well, they said but late July, so
yeah.
I'm looking at the Friday night news dump. That's when
they do it. They like happen. To do that. Yeah,
5 o'clock. Sure. Yeah, 5 o'clock on Friday. Keep an eye.
So there it is, and then the Browns will start Saturday. Monday, you and I will be here, and we'll talk about who else wasn't ready for camp and any other. There's going to be some stories this week, some fun things to talk about. I can't wait. Football's here. John McMullen, my man.
All right, thanks for having me, Jared.
Thanks for being here. You guys can check him out all the time. John McMullen on the Sports Network. Tweet with them on Twitter at JF McMullen. We're going to take a break. When we come back, going right back to the phone, shifting gears, my man Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan. Going to talk to him a little bit about the Indians, about the Cavaliers. Oh, hey, by the way, we'll talk some more about the latest with the Cavaliers, talking Buckeyes, all of that, so much more. My man Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan joins us next here on the Sports Fix.
We here at the Sports Fix are very in-depth when we interview the sports stars.
Oh, I saw the whole thing, dude. First you were all like, whoa, and then we were like, whoa, and then you were like, whoa. What are you talking about? You call serious thrill issues, dude. Oh, awesome.
Maybe not, but you should still listen.
As we head into this break, I just want to remind you the Sports Fix proud to be partners with Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck, 5715 Canal Road, just under the 480 bridge in Valley View, Ohio. Bill Hershey and Bill Opelich, I tell you about them each and every day. They'll take care of you. Number one, huge Cleveland sports fans, but they're good people, hardworking people, trustworthy people. I don't just come on here, I tell you this all the time, I don't just come on here and talk about places and people that want to buy advertising on the show. I talk about people and products that I believe in, and Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck is one of those places. Whether you've got a truck, car, van, commercial vehicle, big or small, it doesn't matter. They'll fix them all. They're the home of the low price tire guarantee. Find a matching set of tires cheaper anywhere else, and they'll match the price, guaranteed, no questions asked, no matter what it is. Hey, and they understand in 2013 that there's transportation issues. People need to get to school, to work, to daycare. All those things need to get done, and the car needs to get fixed, and they'll figure out a way to make that happen for you. Check them out, quicklane.com/Valley Ford Truck, and find out that life really is better in the Quick Lane.
Hey, Cleveland, this is Ed Doherty, voice of San Ignatius Wildcat football, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
In baseball, miracles can happen when a team works together.
2 out, bottom of the ninth, down to their last strike.
The same is true in the fight against cancer. That's why MLB has teamed up with Stand Up to Cancer. Because we believe that when we all stand up together,
41,000 on their feet.
we can make cancer history.
Now everybody's standing.
What a buzz in this building.
This is beyond a dream. Stand up with MLB at standuptocancer.org.
The Sports Fix is now available every day on the world's largest internet radio service, iHeartRadio. Download the free iHeartRadio app, subscribe to the show, and get your fix.
At the corner of Carnegie and Ontario, it's basketball time at the Q.
Have you gotten your copy of Cleveland's Finest yet? Highlighting the best moments, players, and media members in Cleveland sports history?
He won it! Elo! Hit a three-pointer on the side!
In-depth personal interviews with some of the top names in Cleveland sports fill the pages of this incredible book.
Joe Day.
Fred McLeod. Hector Marinero.
Discussing the most intimate and sometimes controversial details of the largest moments in our town's sports history.
The Indians have won the divisional title.
A perfect game for Len Barker.
What a win for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Their first time in a playoff.
It's the first book written from the player's point of view, with the media that covered it and the fans that watched. Finally, the true stories are told, from a miracle in Richfield to the NBA Finals.
The Detroit Pistons have been booby-trapped.
From a perfect game to a World Series one pitch from victory. From a Wildcat High School dynasty to the golden days of the Browns, Barons, and Crunch, this book will change the way the entire sports nation looks at Cleveland.
Cleveland, you will have an October to remember.
Cleveland's Finest by Vince McKee is this year's must-have book for every Cleveland sports fan. Available now at Amazon.com. Get your copy today.
Back in 1990, when I joined Herb in the booth, you could say that first game was when I became a lifelong Tribe fan. Something about Cleveland made us want to stay and call it our home, raise our family here. I can promise you one thing, home or on the road, I feel what you folks feel, what you feel every game. Cleveland fans are passionate and pretty vocal. I respect that. This is our team. This is our town. This is a Tribe town.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by GV Art and Design. It's not just a shirt, it's a statement. GVArtwork.com.
This is how we do it. This is how we do it.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix, where indeed this is how we do it. J-Rock back with you as we roll on into hour 2. Guys, phone lines are still not open, but you can get through on the Facebook, on the Twitter, on